Max Holloway, Volkanovski, part 3 is off. Okay, and that was on for one day. I don't know what happened to Max, but I do know for him to miss this opportunity and on that quick of a turnaround from 24 hours after the announcement, it's announced that it's off. My only thing I could tell you for Max is get well soon, and our thoughts are with you. I got to leave it at that. I don't have information, and even if I did, I'm really not comfortable talking about somebody's injury report, but what do you do now? So Korean Zombie stepped right up, offered his services. I love that. Korean Zombie is 1-1 in his last 2 and was not in the discussion to get a title fight. But he kept himself ready. He's telling us he can make weight. He's in shape. He'll have no excuses, and he wants to compete. I love that. I loved it when it happened for Sandhagen. Sandhagen lost his last fight and walked right into a title fight. I don't have a problem with that. I don't. If you got the top guys taking on the top guys, co-main event, main event spots, 5-round club, doing the training. Yes, sometimes you get your hand raised and sometimes you don't. Welcome to sport. You ever watch the NBA Finals? The team that holds their hand up with the big trophy just lost 2 games in the last 4 days. It happens all the time. This is very realistic in sport, and I like when the top guys get recognized and we don't just have to turn back to what they did within their career in a 25-minute period in their last contest. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I like the idea of Zombie, and Volkanovski accepted. There's a few things that need to happen here, though. First off is finding Volk an opponent. That has to be paramount, because if you don't get Volkanovski an opponent, you're telling a prize fighter he can't go to work. You're now punishing a champion. You don't want to punish anybody. You want to punish a champion even less. You want to try to get the champion busy, and if the champion's got a good attitude, he's willing to take on all comers, which a lot of champions don't. They become closet champions. They've got to think about it. It's got to be sensitive. They've got to sit down with their team and all this annoying stuff. None of the things that you would want from one of your heroes, but we find that in prize fighting constantly. Volkanovski didn't pull that crap. Great. But the story doesn't end there. Henry Cejudo offered to do the fight. It's very relevant that you understand, in case you missed this story, of everything that I just said, the part that I want to stand out for you is that Volkanovski accepted the challenge of the Zombie. That's relevant because that means he did not accept the challenge of Henry. Why? Why not Henry? It's a much bigger story. It's a much bigger fight. I don't think Volkanovski gives a damn. Do you guys? I don't think Volkanovski's scared. That word scared always comes up. You're never going to get rid of it. Even when you're champion of the world like Volkanovski, you have people calling you scared. But I don't think that that is the correct verbiage for this situation. I think that Volkanovski didn't take Henry seriously. And I would have to side with Volkanovski. Make sure you understand this. Not that Henry didn't want the fight, not that Henry wanted to have done the fight, not that Henry wanted to have signed the fight. Volkanovski wanted everything same, as much as he could keep it that way. I would submit for this is what I'm speaking for Volkanovski without speaking to Volkanovski, so I'm a little bit out of turn here, but I can assure you the story and the thought process went something like this. For Volkanovski, paramount is the date. The date that he was booked to fight, that he agreed to fight Max Holloway. If Volk had signed a contract and we're told that he did, even if that's a verbal, he's now locked in. He would have done a number of things, including, and most importantly, set his calendar. Wherever it is he's going to go to train, maybe that's at home, maybe he's got to travel. I don't know his geographical situation. He's also going to find the coaches, he's going to find the teammates, and he would have told them. So now he has a whole bunch of people, right? Everything's a domino effect, but including this, he has people who are going to make sacrifices, who are going to change their schedule, who are going to be in a certain place at a certain time, twice a day, every day, leading up to the contest. So paramount for Volkanovski, I'm betting, was the date. The opponent was secondary, maybe even third. Maybe didn't give a damn at all. He wants to make that date. So if Volkanovski does not take Henry serious, he's going to blow right past Henry. And I do side with Volk on that if Henry's feet were put to the fire, and they said, great, Henry, you haven't competed since UFC 246. You're up in a 5-round contest at a weight class you've never done, and you're up in 8 weeks. Henry go, I need more time. That's not the way this works. The situation is not to make things ideal for you. It's to keep the status quo for the guy that deserves it, which is the champion of the world. I could be wrong, and Henry would say yes. But we're not armed with that information, and Henry isn't given that opportunity. We're armed when Volkanovski gives the nod, in this case to the Korean Zombie, with what Volkanovski as a reasonable person would reasonably expect. And I do not think that Volkanovski for a second thought that Henry would do a turnaround time. I think the fight is more like 12 weeks away. But the point is the same thing, that Volkanovski is not believing that Henry is going to meet the most important part of this, which is not the opponent or even what it pays. It's the date that we've already agreed on. If I'm wrong, which I could be, I would submit for you that that was the miss by Henry. And that when Henry called him out, Henry should have known what Volkanovski is looking for, and he should have met all of those criteria. We will do it at your weight class. We will do it on time. Every time I'll get my paperwork in, I'll get my training. You won't have me open my mouth. I just want the shot. Those things weren't said. So I don't know that Volkanovski has necessarily chosen the Zombie over Cejudo. I believe that Volkanovski chose what he believed to be a viable opportunity over what he did not think was a viable opponent. And I am guessing. I'm putting a lot on this for as limited information I have, but I can all but assure you, Volk was here right now. I'm close. I'm really, really close. So if Henry is going to do this, for him to stay active or him to stay busy, I think is one thing that the Zombie has over him. Henry is raising his hand and he's saying, I'm willing. I trust Henry. I just spoke to Henry 4 days ago on a FaceTime. He looked great. I worked with Henry at a comedy show of all things, which drops today on UFC Fight Pass. Get over to Fight Pass, check Henry and I out. We got showed up when we were on stage with Dean Thomas and Adam Hunter. I mean, in all fairness, it was some pretty stiff competition. Give you a shout out for that because I was with Henry and I pulled him aside. I said, Henry, what is this? You're saying you're coming up to 45. Every time I see you in the news lately, you're training somebody. You're training Jon Jones. You're training Wei Lee. You're in the gym with Paulo Costa. Are you a trainer now or are you an athlete? So, Chael, I'm doing both, but I'm definitely getting my workouts in. And I'm only sharing this with you guys because it was very sincere. That was headed nowhere. Henry wasn't looking for me to come tell you guys or put him over, but it was true, and I could see that look in his eye. It was that same look of determination, that same look of hope for opportunity that he had in 2008 when he won the Olympic Games. So even though I'm vouching for Henry and Henry's vouching for himself, I think that in the characters that Henry had to use, which is 160 or less per the rules of Twitter, I don't think he got enough to Volkanovski for Volkanovski to make a viable decision. And if Volkanovski would have said, yes, we got Henry, and Dana goes, okay, great, we got this thing figured out, and then Henry comes in the back and says, but it needs to be in August so I can get ready, everything goes up in smoke. That's my guess. I don't think Volkanovski cared. I don't think Volkanovski sees more opportunity with Zombie than he saw with Henry. I don't think he cares about the opponent. I think the thing that Volkanovski was trying to keep intact was the date. And if I'm wrong, the next person that calls Volkanovski out needs to take the psychology of the champion into mind and make sure they mention that within the call out.